Shameless plug incoming. Today's episode is brought to you by the book Everyone is a Sinner But Me, available now at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Pre-recorded from Volpes Studios, it's the MCS1 show featuring Caleb, Hannah, and now your host, MCS1.
Welcome everyone to another exciting edition of the MCS1 show. I'm MCS1, once again joined via satellite with my dear compadre Caleb Hannon.
Woo, satellite!
Woo, I know, via satellite. Such a joke.
I just love it when newscasts have that though. They're just like, "Oh, joining us now via satellite."
Via satellite.
Like,
it's one of the. It's one of the Russian.
All right.
It's
one
one
of
of
the.
the.
Calm down, Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, it's one of the Russian satellites.
I mean, I would assume
they got launched into space that they don't use. That's where XM radio came from. No, really, it was a Russian satellite that was no longer being used.
Oh, that is so dope.
I know, isn't it? It's so dope. All right. Yeah, crazy. So today we got a really special show for you. We're a bit behind on the times, but a little while ago, the esteemed university known as BYU, Brigham Young University, we kind of talk about them a lot on the show because let's face it, we just make fun of them left and right.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
once they stop giving us reasons to, maybe we will.
I know. So I got a message from one of my friends the other day, and they're like, why do you hate Provo so much? Do you have anything better to do than dog on BYU and Provo? And I'm like, no, not really.
I mean, dude, the perfect response whenever, whenever people say anything like that to me, oh, don't you have anything better to do than to dog on or whatever else? I'm always just like, well, don't you have anything better to do than to ask me why I don't do anything other than dog on that?
Yeah, it's not like I'm going off to research how to cure cancer, people. I'm a talk show host and a glorified blogger.
I mean, have you heard the show? Clearly, we're not going to cure cancer.
I know, seriously, not anytime soon, or probably ever. Yeah. On the plus side, at least our show isn't causing cancer that we know of.
I mean, yet.
Speaking of things that cause cancer, caffeine is our topic today for BYU.
The perfect segue.
What a terrible segue. A couple of weeks ago, BYU finally approved the sale of caffeine. Wow. Good for them. So
they did it.
We might be a couple weeks behind for covering this, but they are a couple decades behind on reality and everyone else drinking caffeine.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, Coke was brewed in the 1800s.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Coke, right now, I am opening up a cold one.
Ooh, cracking open a cold one with the boys.
Yeah, cold one. Coca-Cola, known as the devil's liquor. Not regular.
I've already got my energy drink going. So.
Oh, really? So yeah, we're keeping it real. Yeah. So
just for you, BYU.
Yes,
just for you.
So we're gonna be talking about this whole caffeine-free Happy Valley is what I'm calling the show, because Happy Valley is a mixed bag. Like everyone is so I don't have caffeine. It's evil. It's more evil than alcohol and murder and a bunch of other things.
Gosh.
And then you got these other people who are like going to these soda restaurants, so to speak. And we'll talk more about that later. And they're all like, yeah, this is amazing. This is the greatest thing ever, because we don't have any bars and none of us drink.
So even if we did have them, we couldn't even use them properly.
I know, seriously. So let's talk about BYU when it was caffeine free. This is interesting. So I would go to BYU for like housing fairs back when I worked in like student housing during my time in Provo. And during lunchtime, we would always go to the BYU cafeteria. And it's not really much of a cafeteria. It's kind of just a conglomeration of chain restaurants moved together.
Sure.
But it was decent food. And so one thing that like really made me laugh was their soda machine there. And I use this as like the thumbnail for the show as well. On it, it says more choices for you. And it's like and it's all this caffeine free stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, more choices for you, and less those choices have caffeine. And the irony was just great on it. And so caffeine, it's like it's such a touchy subject in Happy Valley. Like as I mentioned, because there's no clear stance on it from anyone. Like you'll get an answer.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, you'll get a different answer from everyone about is caffeine bad or good. I mean, it's so interesting how divided people are on this issue.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to say that I'm not one of the people that would definitely be causing a division there, because I enjoy causing said division.
Yeah, I'd
like to be a better person. I'm just not.
Yeah, I've always loved caffeine, to be honest, and Coke. Absolutely. Especially. I mean, I grew up with this stuff, and I've just always loved it. I mean, I'm drinking a Coke right now, but there are these people and that are there, like these super high up, great, or they think they're great, I should say.
Yeah, I was like
pompous. I think narcissistic might be a term we might throw around for them. These people that are basically standing like that Rami Ampton that we mentioned.
Yeah.
In the BYU Holy War show, where they stand on this Rami Ampton, are like, I'm better than you type of thing, because they don't have caffeine, and they've always had that on me, and the fact that I don't eat meat. That's the those are their trump cards. When they hear that, they just love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, and like honestly, like people that use those types of things to, I guess, quote unquote, elevate themselves.
Yeah.
I always just whenever people would say things like that to me, I just laugh at them, and then they'd be like, "How dare you laugh at me?" And it's just like, "How dare you pretend to be my mom?"
I think my favorite, my favorite interaction with something like that, there's a couple. The standard reaction I get, I got to mention this before I get into my favorite. The standard reaction is when I tell people I don't eat meat, and they're like, "Oh, so like you remember a PETA? God put animals on this earth for you to eat, and blah blah blah." I'm like, bro, I just don't like the taste of meat, and I can't really digest it. Shut up, please. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's like that's the first thing they go to every time, and I'm just like, wow, this is off to a good start. And then, and I'm not like someone who's vegan who just goes off telling people I'm vegetarian.
Yeah,
because I'm so tired of people just coming after me about my diet, which is so ridiculous. But anyway, my favorite reaction that I've ever gotten is I was in a Sunday school class at church in Provo. That was they actually held the church session at BYU campus.
Hooray!
I know. So this just gets worse and worse. And I'm there, and I'm like in the front row, and they're talking about something. And I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't anything related to like the Mormon code of health known as the Word of Wisdom. And I whispered to my roommate something that's like kind of related about me not eating meat. And the teacher there, he was already kind of a huge prick. And so he uses this as his soapbox to talk about the evils of eating meat. Completely shifts away from his lesson and just goes off on the woes of being vegetarian and stuff, just because he heard me like kind of make a side comment to my roommate about it. Right. So he took his chance of teaching a Sunday school lesson and just picked up his megaphone to project his like completely idiotic views and interpretation. So that's probably my, like, it was just so outlandishly ridiculous that it's probably my favorite reaction to someone finding out I don't eat meat.
Well, he sounds lovely.
He was a terrible human being. Like, so bad. He was the type of guy, like, all his roommates, like, hated him, too. When he moved out, he trashed his apartment. I mean, this guy was a total piece of work. His ex-girlfriend is one of my best friends. She hates him. I mean, the guy was just a tool. But,
Sounds like a giant dick.
He is, and these are the type of people that, get up on the Ramy Amtum to preach that they do not drink caffeine. And it's just ridiculous. And, the thing about Provo, as I kind of mentioned earlier, everyone's kind of divided on this. So we got the super people, the super BYU kids being like, yeah, I don't have caffeine. I won't touch that stuff. And then you got like a bunch of other people who are like, yeah, I love caffeine, and then they go to this little restaurant type of thing. I don't even know if I can call it a restaurant. You've heard of this, So Delicious, right, Caleb?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's, absolutely. Oh gosh, I freaking hate that place, man. Like, so bad. Excuse my Mormon swear there. Like, I can't stand it. It's basically like, it's not even like a cool soda shop, like where you walk in and the guy's like dressed 1950s with, the weird hat type of thing.
Those
and
still?
What'd you say?
Those exist still?
There's a couple in the U.S., like, little diners that have that type of stuff. Like,
that's kind of awesome.
They are. I went to one in L.A. Couple years back. They're pretty baller. But yeah, they don't even have that going on. It's mostly just a drive-through.
Yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah, it's a drive-through, and there's like a couple tables on the outside, and people just go and like get like drive-through soda like mixed together. Caleb and I were discussing this another time. He had like a really good phrase for this. It was like something involving fountain drinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like a fountain drink faux mixology.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which makes it sound so much cooler than it really is.
Yeah, but, it's definitely not cool.
No, it's not. And everyone always wanted to go there. And like my circle of friends always wanted to go there. And I hated it. I'm like, I don't want to pay like $2 for a fountain drink Pepsi.
Right?
Yeah. And it was just ridiculous. I couldn't believe how hyped up this place was, in this place that like outlawed caffeine. I mean, it's basically prohibition to have it in there.
They're the speakeasies.
Exactly.
Provo.
So, Caleb, you had an interesting story that you wanted to share involving Utah, like the whole state, and Pepsi.
Yeah, so I have quite a few interesting stories, but we'll get to that later.
Oh my.
No, but in particular, and it's not as big anymore. I actually looked into it a little bit more, just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying anything ridiculous. But it's very, very especially prevalent in Happy Valley and in Salt Lake Valley, actually, where Pepsi basically signed this huge, I guess, like deal kind of a thing with Utah, right? Now, what the deal basically said is, hey, look, we'll endorse, a lot of the schools around there and put, our products in there. And to appease the Mormon culture, we'll put in caffeine-free versions of all of our drinks. So, like,
disgusting.
I don't know if you've ever even found this anywhere else, but I mean, in stores here, you can find caffeine-free Mountain Dew, caffeine-free Pepsi, and even caffeine-free Dr. Pepper. Now, obviously,
and they have those in the Midwest.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, out in Iowa, where I'm currently at right now. But I will admit, they aren't nearly as abundant as they are out in Utah.
Oh, no. In Utah, it's every store. And the big deal was for them is that actually guaranteed Pepsi this enormous contract, especially not just with like BYU, but also with the Missionary Training Center in Provo, also with all of the, with BYU Idaho, with BYU Salt Lake City, with all the church offices and all of those places. So all of those facilities, basically that bear the Mormon or the LDS symbol, they have this big like conglomerate basically of
they got the monopoly.
Pepsi. Yeah, and they really do. And it wasn't up until recently that Coca-Cola even did caffeine-free beverages. And like the funny thing is that in Utah, like it got so bad and people leaned so heavily to the Pepsi side of things that they actually kind of moved to make certain beverages that Coca-Cola offers not available. the most popular one, and the one that I personally am the most upset about, is Surge, which was basically Coke's answer to Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
And the big thing is for Pepsi is that they know that Mountain Dew is the thing that keeps them in business. They know that people primarily, when they drink Pepsi, it's mostly Mountain Dew, because Pepsi basically tastes like watered down, disgusting, sugarless Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Pepsi. Exactly. That's kind of how I feel about Pepsi these days. I mean, I loved it growing up, but now I'm just like, I'm all about the Coke, man.
Yeah, well,
just like Scarface, all about the Coke.
Different kind of Coke.
Kind of Coke. Yeah, totally.
But no, and it's so funny because because of that, I guess, monopoly that Pepsi was able to establish, people in Utah, there's a lot of people in Utah that don't even know that Surge is a thing.
Yeah, I actually didn't know this. Personally, I thought Surge was sold off Amazon.
No, there's a lot of it that was, but so if you go to states like Montana, even Wyoming, all the gas stations and the Walmarts will have the 16-ounce cans, the bigger cans of Surge.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper than the Pepsi cans. They're cheaper than everything else. And my wife and I have a deal where basically anytime we're out of state and we find them, I just buy them all.
Buy them out.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. We were driving home from Denver a couple months back in July, and there was a gas station that had 12 of these cans of Surge, and I bought all of them. And the guy was like, "Oh, you stockpiling?" And I was like, "No, you can't find these where I'm from." But yeah, that's the big thing is that because of Pepsi's negotiation basically with BYU and with the church and with the Salt Lake, whatever, the Mormon area here, they pretty much eliminated Surge as a competitor to Mountain Dew in this area.
Yeah.
Which is kind of messed up if you think about it.
Yeah. That is nuts. So let's segue back to BYU for a moment.
Of course. Surgeless BYU.
Surgeless BYU. You got caffeine, but you didn't get Surge.
Yeah.
Then I looked up some interesting tweets from these kids or whatever.
Oh boy.
I'm not gonna read them.
We don't want our show to cause cancer. We already talked about this.
Yeah, exactly. But when this got released, this caffeine on BYU campus, apparently in the food area, when the first cart was rolled in, people were cheering.
Are you kidding me?
And no.
That is so lame.
Yeah, and then there was all these other kids. One tweet, it was something to the effect of, and I'm totally paraphrasing this because I don't want to credit the person. They said, "We didn't even have to go to school today, but we wanted to come to school to participate in history." And I'm
oh my gosh,
participate in history? Like what? I mean, it's not like the Berlin. Yeah, it's not like the Berlin Wall's coming down.
I mean, it's the caffeine wall.
Yeah, or like the first black president, or anything crazy historic happening. It's a school is allowing a drink.
Yeah, that's lame.
Yeah.
Sorry, BYU, but your news is stupid.
Yeah, it's not. It's not fake news. It's just lame news. Lame news.
Yeah, it's like that Zoidberg thing that's always around.
Oh yeah. Your news is bad. You should feel bad.
Your news is bad, and you should feel bad. Yeah, that's exactly what's going through my head right now.
So now go ahead.
That's stupid. I mean, okay, cool. Congratulations on getting a drink that was never really banned by the word of wisdom.
I know, and that's the other thing. It was never officially banned by the church. It was always a cultural thing. And the church even one time came out and said an official statement, "Hey, you can have caffeine," because it was getting so outlandishly ridiculous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I'm glad they did, because it's just shut down all those idiots.
Exactly.
For instance, and this is going back to that Ramyumptum, I think I told you this before. I grew up in Springville, which is just one city south of Provo, right? And I was walking home one day drinking a Mountain Dew because I was at my buddy's house and they always had Mountain Dew. So I was just drinking on my way home, and And this lady called my mom to let her know that I was drinking a Mountain Dew.
Big Brother is always watching.
Yeah, well, and it was like, okay, so you're seriously checking in on me on something that's not even banned by the church?
Yeah.
Are you serious, lady? And but she was like dead serious. Like, you should talk to him about it. Make sure he's not like using this as a gateway. That was a word she used.
He might
gateway.
After this, he might, start doing heroin.
Which, and the hilarious part about it is, this same lady's kid checked into rehab 2 years later.
Wow.
Because of a coke addiction.
Really?
Yep.
Wait, what type of coke we talking? Because I can see Utah having caffeine rehab. I really
it was the real stuff, the crack cocaine.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what got him started on that, though, right?
It was definitely caffeine.
Definitely caffeine. Caffeine. That's
because he drank regular Coke, like he drank Coca-Cola, and he was like, "Man, I wonder what cocaine is like. It has the same name."
Gosh, that's quite the jump, but maybe not. I mean, his mom was able to make a similar jump with her assumptions. So I mean, maybe it's just something like that.
And to be perfectly fair, I mean, technically, originally Coca-Cola did have cocaine in it.
Exactly.
Guess we can't really say it's too big of a jump.
No. So let's jump over to BYU for a minute and let's talk about something else. So they got caffeine now on campus. Good for them for getting into, the 19th century.
Hey man, it took them 100 years.
I know, seriously. I mean,
they finally did it.
Well, I made this list though of like a couple of things that the other college campuses have that BYU doesn't. And this is a pretty good list. It's not a top 10 list or whatever. It's just six things, but still pretty good.
Yeah, so Letterman can't sue us.
Yeah, so. Or this won't turn into a 6 things other colleges have that BYU doesn't type of or 5 things or whatever buzz numbers.
It's not a segment.
Or out. Yeah, exactly. Or a clickbait article.
Stupid BuzzFeed.
Gosh, screw you, BuzzFeed. All right. So let's talk about the first thing that BYU does not have. The other colleges have, most colleges, spring break.
Yeah, they suck.
So I was going to UVU and I was like, man, I get spring break. This is awesome. And then my friends at BYU, my roommates, still around.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty bad for him. However, I had one like really terrible roommate. So he talks about how real schools don't have spring break.
Yeah, how many other schools don't have spring break?
Yeah, and I was like, so BYU's the only real school in the world? He goes, yeah, that's how it is. And I'm like, okay. And he was like serious about it. That's the
oh my gosh.
That's the sad thing.
What a stupid thing to say.
I know. Well, he wasn't like the smartest guy.
Okay.
So it's whatever. So number 2 that I have on here, beards.
Yeah, which is still the stupidest thing on the planet.
Yeah, so BYU doesn't allow beards. You can get a beard card.
Yeah. Which requires you to basically prove that you break out or have a skin condition.
Exactly.
Like you're a friggin' newborn with eczema.
Yeah.
Which, and also I think we touched on this one time, but like the reason they don't allow beards is so dumb.
Yeah.
Because and there are a couple of reasons or whatever for it, but like the official reason why when they really did the hard like no more beards was because of the Cold War, and they were like, we want to seem patriotic and shave. And
no more beards. That sounds like a terrible campaign.
Yeah, well, and then also on top of that, it's like okay, well, what about now? Because now, a lot of Americans have beards. Are they not patriotic?
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, what about all of the presidents of the church that had beards? They must not be patriotic.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Beats me. Either way, beards are bad.
Beards are bad.
They're
worse than caffeine now.
I know, seriously. Side note, I was running like this fake Facebook page for a while called Your Beard Makes You Unclean. And
oh man,
I know. And the reason I did this is because there was like this study that came out, and this is like, you know, similar to how fake news is spread these days as well.
Right.
This one study came out about how beards are basically, they emit urea, which is something also found in urine, and so basically, like, you're basically wearing a toilet around, and you're, you know. And it was one article, one study, and everyone picked it up and was just spreading it all over. And so, of course, in Happy Valley, everyone just shares this crap over Facebook. And so it was easy for me to make this Facebook page, and I just kept sharing that same study and like pretty much that same article rehashed by different people, all these terrible copywriters from different sources constantly.
Right.
And people were like sharing it. It was hilarious. And then I kind of dropped it because I moved on to other stupid things.
Of course.
Yeah, just ridiculous. So
I can't believe that people buy into that though, like so easily.
Yeah. No kidding. Sheeple, am I right, guys? Number 3, coffee. Yeah.
Which,
no coffee there.
Yeah.
I mean,
congrats, BYU.
Yeah, don't push your luck. No. Yeah. If I was to be on BYU campus, I'm not gonna lie, I would petition for a Starbucks, just for the fun of it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Number 4, co-ed dorms outside of married housing.
Yeah. That way they can make sure that everybody becomes homosexual.
I know. Gosh. The next one, condom dispensers in their housing facilities or on campus.
Why don't they have that yet?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like where I'm at right now, for the college that I work at, they're all over housing. Like it's nuts. And when I was originally working in housing before moving to Utah, they had like a jar of them at the front desk, and people just walk by, take a handful, and just walk on.
Sure.
Yeah, my boss, he's got a jar of them on his desk for when students come in. Awesome. I know for my job, I deal with like students moving out. A lot, and like a couple other things, but I was like, maybe I'll get a condom jar for my office. And he's like, what? He's like, what are you going to use that for? Oh, hey, I hear you're moving out. Here, have some condoms. Good luck. And like, I just lost it. It was a pretty, yeah, it was a pretty good comment.
Here's a condom. Hey, good luck.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Maybe it's like, well, it didn't happen for you in these 4 years. Maybe in the next ones.
Yeah. And then the very last thing, and we'll end with this, what other universities have that BYU doesn't, is dignity.
Got him.
Yes. Oh, couldn't help myself. Anyway.
Yeah, especially, I mean, yeah, they just don't. I mean, here's the thing. When your theme song is Rise and Shout, the Cougars are out, that just sounds like a warning to young men.
Oh my gosh, seriously. Yeah. Anyway, that's our show. If you've enjoyed us dogging on Happy Valley, pick up my book, Everyone is a Sinner But Me, on Amazon. I want to thank Caleb for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Via satellite.
Via satellite.
Also, everyone, we got a mailing list going on. Go to the MCS1show.com to sign up for it, and we'll start sending out like updates on when we get some new stuff going and what we're working on, etc. All right. Anyways, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the MCS1 Show. For bi-weekly episodes on society and counterculture, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. For regular updates, show notes, and links, head to the MCS1show.com or search AOL keyword MCS1.